Hello everybody, I would like to welcome you to our 10th video in the pre-algebra playlist. So we're getting into the double digits now and it's getting real over here. In this video we are going to go over the topic of evaluating expressions. Now from watching the previous videos, you know by now what a numerical expression is and you know by now what a variable expression is. So if we have a numerical expression on our hand and I tell you to evaluate a numerical expression, all you're really going to do is solve it. For example, if I give you the following numerical expression and I ask you to evaluate this numerical expression, all you're going to do is find the answer. So, you know that 2 plus 5 will give me a 7, and then 7 plus 7 will give me a 14. On the other hand, what does it mean when I ask you to solve for a variable expression? Now, a variable expression can't really be solved unless if it is converted into an equation, but we will get to that later on in the videos. Before I confuse you any further, let's do a couple of examples. In this first example, let's say I have 3x plus 30, and I want to know what 3x plus 30 is equal to for when x is equal to 4. You know from the previous videos that a variable, in this case the x, is simply a substitution tool. It is used when we don't really know what the number is supposed to be. In this case, we know that the number is supposed to be 4. Therefore, all we need to do is that we need to replace the x with the number 4. So simply, I'm going to write this expression over here like this over here. We have turned a variable expression into a numerical expression now, and we know how to solve these numerical expressions using the order of operations that we learned. So 3 times 4 will give me a 12, and 12 plus 30 will give me 42. So my final answer of what is 3x plus 30 equal to for when x is equal to 4 is 42. This is what I mean when I say evaluating expressions. Now let's do a few more examples. In this case, let's say I have the following variable expression. In this variable expression that I'm trying to evaluate 11 times a plus 16 divided by a minus 10 plus a for when a is equal to 2. Now we saw in the past example that the first thing that we need to do is replace the a equals 2 for every variable a that we see in the variable expression. And when I do this, I get the following numerical expression. Now all we need to do is evaluate this numerical expression using Pemdas. And referring back to Pemdas, we know that the first thing that we need to do is multiply the 11 and the 2 together to give us 22. Now the next thing that we need to do is divide 16 and 2 together. This will give us 8. Moving on, we need to add 22 and 8 together to give us 30. Then subtract 10 from 30 to give us 20. And finally add 20 and 2 together to give us our final answer of 22. Now the next two examples, let's take evaluating expressions a step further. Let's now deal with multiple variables. So in this third example, let's say I have the following variable expression, and I want to evaluate this variable expression for when a is equal to 22 and k is equal to 9. All we need to do in this case, as opposed to the previous two examples, is that we need to take this variable expression step by step. First, we need to replace one of the variables with its respective numerical value. In this case, it doesn't matter the order, but let's just say that we replace the a variable first. Therefore, we let the k be the k for now, and we get the following variable expression. The next thing that we need to do is replace the k with the 9, and when we do that, we get our numerical expression. 4 times 9 is the first thing that we will do to give us 36. Next, we do 22 divided by 2 to give us 11. Next, I evaluate 36 plus 11 to give me 47. And then finally, to get my final answer, I evaluate 47 minus 16 to give me 31. So by now, I think you're getting the hang of it. And we'll do one more example. And in this case, we will have 3 variables. In this fourth example, let's say I have the following variable expression, and I want to evaluate this variable expression for when a is equal to 2, b is equal to 3, and c is equal to 5. Now, let's first replace the variable a, and then we will move on from there. When we replace the variable a with the number 2, we get the following variable expression. Next, Let's replace the variable b with the number 3. And then finally, let's replace the variable c with the number 5. Now we have this complicated looking numerical expression over here that we need to evaluate. Let's refer back to Pemdas and learn that the first thing that we need to solve is the parentheses. So 2 times 3 times 5 is equal to 30. Similarly, I am multiplying the 2, the 3, and the 5 together over here as well. So that will give me 30 as well. Now, the first thing that I need to do is evaluate 30 divided by 2 to give me 15. Now, I need to evaluate 30 divided by 30 to give me a 1. I have 3 products that are remaining to be evaluated in this numerical expression. 6 times 2 is 12, 5 times 3 is 15, and 4 times 5 is 20. So I will evaluate them simultaneously, and I will get the following numerical expression. Now, I can do 15 minus 1 to give me 14. Now, 14 plus 12 will give me 26. 26 plus 15 will give me a 41, and 41 minus 20 will give me an answer of 21. Now that we've gotten the hang of evaluating expressions, when you're given a variable expression and certain conditions, such as one of the variables being equal to a certain number and the other variable being equal to another number, and so on and so on, it is time for us to now learn how to convert a word problem into a variable expression and then evaluate it like we did over here. So let's say I have this first example over here. So in this problem, we have the Nile online bookstore that charges you $8 for any shipping and handling order, as well as $5 for any book that you order. Now, if Emily orders 6 books, how much will she end up paying? What if she orders or buys 9 books? Alright, so let's now get to the solution part of the problem. In this case, what we want to find out is the money that Emily will end up paying. So we can denote that by the variable m for money. On the right hand side, we can write down our appropriate variable expression. And we can find this variable expression by looking at this problem again step by step. What we know is that the Nile bookstore will charge us $8 for any order. So we can start out by writing down the $8 flat fee. Next, we need to use the addition symbol to represent that any number of books that we will order will be added up to the $8 fee. And since we're adding up the amounts, we don't need to use subtraction, division, multiplication. We need to use addition. Also, we know that the Nile online bookstore will charge us $5 for each book that Emily orders. So, if Emily ordered 2 books, she will end up paying $8 flat fee plus the $5 for the first book plus the $5 for the second book. And that will give me her total as $18. Similarly, if she ended up buying 3 books, she will add up the following numerical expression together to get her final total. So 8 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 will give me a final answer of 23. So for every book that she orders, she needs to add that many 5s together. Therefore, the variable at our hand is the number of books that she will buy. We can represent this variable by the letter b, and we know that we need to multiply that variable b by the number 5 because that's how much each book costs. Now, if Emily ends up buying 6 books, we need to replace the variable b above by the number 6. So we have the following over here. Now, we multiply the 5 and the 6 together to give us 30, and add 30 to the 8 to give us 38. So Emily will end up paying $38 if she orders 6 books. Similarly, if she orders 9 books, all we need to do is replace the variable b by the number 9. This will give us 5 times 9, which is equal to 45, plus the 8 to give us 53. So Emily will end up paying $53 if she buys 9 books from the Nile online bookstore. Now let's do one last example before I leave you in this video. So in this example, we have that if a shoe rack can fit 7 pairs of shoes on it, and Nichelle ends up buying n number of shoe pairs, while Vanessa ends up buying v pairs of shoes, write a variable expression to help determine how many shoe racks are required to fit in all of these shoes. And then we need to solve for it if Vanessa buys 6 pairs and Nichelle buys 8, and if Nichelle buys 16 pairs and Vanessa buys 19. So this may seem really complicated, but actually this one will be an easier problem because we don't really need to assign any variables. We are given the variable n to represent how many shoes Nichelle ends up buying, and we are given the variable v to determine how many shoes Vanessa will end up buying. So in this case, what we really need to solve for is the number of shoe racks required. So we need to determine a variable to represent shoe racks. Now again, you can use any variable, but in this case, I'll choose the letter R. So the R is the variable that I'm trying to solve for. Therefore, R will be all by itself on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, I can now come up with my appropriate variable expression. Now, before you move on, take a step back and think about this problem. If you have 14 pairs of shoes and you're told that 7 pairs of shoes will fit on each rack, and you're asked to find how many racks you will need, all you really do is do 14 divided by 7 to give you a final answer of 2 racks that are needed. Therefore, 2 is the number of racks that you need. In this case, what you did was that you first found out the total number of shoe pairs that you have, and then you divided with the number 7 because each rack could fit 7 pairs of shoes on it. Therefore, what we really need to do in this case is first we need to add up the number of shoes that we have in total. And the way we will figure this out is by adding up the variables n and v. Then we need to use grouping symbols to indicate that n plus v, or the total number of shoe pairs bought by the 2 girls, is the first thing that we need to find. After that, we need to divide the total of n plus v by the number 7 because that's how many pairs of shoes will fit on each rack. And so there I have it. The total number of shoe racks that I will need, which is represented by the variable r, is equal to the quantity of n plus v divided by 7. Now let's solve for it if Vanessa buys 6 pairs and Nichelle buys 8 pairs. So if Vanessa buys 6 pairs, I replace the variable v with the number 6. And if Nichelle buys 8 pairs, I replace the variable n with the number 8. Therefore, I get r is equal to 8 plus 6, and then I divide that total by 7. Now, 8 plus 6 will give me 14, and 14 divided by 7 will give me a final answer of 2. So, I need 2 shoe racks if Vanessa buys 6 pairs and Nichelle buys 8 pairs. Similarly, I need to find out how many shoe racks I need if Nichelle buys 16 pairs of shoes while Vanessa buys 19 pairs of shoes. Since 16 plus 19 is equal to 35, and 35 divided by 7 is equal to 5, I need 5 shoe racks to organize all the shoes if Nichelle buys 16 pairs and Vanessa buys 19 pairs. So I hope you enjoyed this video and you learned a lot from it. I hope you keep on working hard, and I'll see you in the next video.